used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back once again to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now today it's going to be a little bit of a change up because I am going to take a look at the 2-pack of Batman and Spawn. Pretty awesome team up. You do get a Batman figure and a Spawn figure in this awesome 2-pack. Now, another thing that is pretty interesting is that I did see a lot of negative reviews for this 2-pack. People not really too happy. They say the Spawn is pretty good, but a lot of people not really feeling that Batman. But it is kind of interesting that, as I always say, get it for yourself and take a look at it and see if you enjoy it. I didn't have too many expectations, but once I opened it up, messed around with it, did some head swaps, did a little bit of customizing, and honestly, this is one of my favorite Batman figures. Now, I don't really do too many Spawn figures, although I do have my collection of Spawn figures that pretty much goes back to early figures and some of the newer figures I have that I haven't opened up. But I do collect Spawn. It's just I don't collect it as ferociously as I collect DC Multiverse. Now, I did find this randomly at GameStop, so I went ahead and picked it up on a whim. But as I said, I was really surprised of the outcome of this 2-pack now that I finally opened it up and taken a look at it for myself. Now, these two guys look pretty badass in the packaging, so let's go ahead and take a quick look at them. But first, Batman does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Now, of course, these are not really needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. He also comes with his data file card. On the front, you do have an image of Batman. Now, I'm not sure, you guys might be able to help me, but I think the images on the box and this image are like Capullo art. I'm not sure if it's McFarlane. It might be McFarlane. Now that I think of it, the image on the back kind of has a little bit of a McFarlane feel to it. But regardless, pretty cool, pretty nice card with some source material. On the back, you do have some information. So we'll hold on to this one. Now, he does come with some accessories. He comes with this gigantic Batarang, which pretty much looks like the Batarang that came with the Batman Year 2, but just in a black version. Now, at first, I thought it was really large, but once I got it in his hand, it wasn't so bad. Like, it's passable. And we do know the story of where Batman hit Spawn right between the eyes with a Batarang and really injured him. So that's interesting. Now, he does come with alternate hands. I'm kind of not happy with these alternate hands because, once again, the hands that he comes with are those like strangler, choking hands that look pretty good. They have like a leather glove sort of texture to them. But these hands, of course, have that ribbing on the back. So these are like sculpted out hands. They actually look exactly like the Batman from Three Jokers hands. So, I mean, I'm actually not going to use these. I'm going to add these to my big tub of hands for later use with another figure. So saying that, let's go ahead and take a look at the Batman right away. Now, this won't be too much articulation because, of course, this is the same Three Jokers Batman. Kind of feels like the vampire Batman in the hand. So that's not a negative because I really love that vampire Batman. It has like a smoother feel for the articulation and a lot more range than the actual Three Jokers. So I actually prefer that body. But taking a look at them, first impressions. Now, this kind of sucks because I actually like the color tones that they went with. The darker sort of NATO black color, kind of a grayish tone to it, but it is still a dark black with that hint of gray in it. The bright yellow that they used for the emblem and for the belt really pop in contrast to all of the dark on the figure. I really like him. The bad part is that the head sculpt just really gets to me. I do not enjoy these like open yelling mouths, pretty much like the 2-pack of Hush Batman, the dark one that came with the Hush figure. Just not a big fan of these heads. I don't know why. I do try to appreciate that it's an alternate head that you could put in a pose, like in a battle pose, or use it for figure photography, but I really don't like these heads, but I mean, it is what it is. That's my preference. I'm sure there's, figure photography people out there that really like them, but it just does not do it for me. Now, aside from that, he does have nice articulation because he looks down really well and really smoothly. Can't look up too much, but that's per usual with these plug heads that McFarlane uses. I really like the detail that they added, like the veins and the musculature in his neck look really awesome. So it's kind of a shame that I'm not a big fan of the open mouth. That's kind of just what brings it down. So that did kind of like make me lose a little bit of love for this 2-pack. I kind of really like the long ears. They look pretty sinister. It all goes back to that open maw. I just can't really get myself to like it. He does have the points on the cape. And speaking of the cape, it is a thick, huge cape, which kind of goes with being in a 2-pack with Spawn. I guess McFarlane wanted him to have a cape to rival Spawn's big cape. What it does do is it kind of helps when you stand him because he's really easy to stand by using that cape. So a lot of times people say when the capes are really heavy that they just fall over, but this is a case where it is exactly the opposite. The cape actually really helps you keep him standing up. You don't even need the black stand to do it. So this is pretty awesome. Same range, you got that waist articulation really good. He has a pretty generous crunch for a Batman figure. One another thing they did mess up on is the spikes on the gauntlets. The paint didn't reach like to the third spike, so it kind of looks off a little bit. Now you could fix this by just painting it black and just giving it a little bit more coverage because the glove isn't sculpted on. So all you really need to do is add some black paint. I may do that, later on because that's not a big deal. Now, as far as leg articulation, real quick, he does have a really generous thigh swivel. Love that. Love to see that in Batman figures, which means you can move the boot from side to side without having a hideous thigh cut. But the boots are pretty much the same as the Vampire Batman. So all in all, it's the same thing we've come to expect from this sort of buck of Batman. Now, of course, he's tall, and a lot of people don't like that, but I actually prefer a taller Batman. Of course, we do have the Nightfall Batman if you would like a slightly shorter Batman. And of course, we have that little shrimp Rebirth Batman. But for me, I actually prefer a taller Batman. So, pretty cool looking Batman. We'll actually come back to him. We'll take a quick look at the Spawn. Um, you know, I really like the Spawn. I love the way they did the cape, especially the collar, the way it, kind of brings the artwork of Spawn to life. You got all those little, twists and curves in the cape. And once again, it makes it really easy to stand this figure because of the big cape. So that's one plus for these two big caped figures. Standard McFarlane articulation, once again, he has nice head movement, nice waist articulation. You got that cool Malboja symbol on his chest, pouches and chains, which are big calling cards for Spawn. This one actually as well has a nice thigh swivel which means you could move the foot back and forth without a thigh cut. And of course, you got that big tree trunk boot. It is mandatory for Spawn figures nowadays. Pretty nice. Now, I did want to do some head swaps because first thing I thought was to head swap this guy because I did not like the yelling Batman head that he came with. The first one I used was actually another yelling head. I had an extra Hush from the 2-pack. And yeah, not a big fan of these heads. Even with this head on this body, it does look interesting, but I'm just not a fan of the open mouth. I don't know why. I would really rather have like gritting teeth that actually makes a little bit more sense and is more pleasing to the eye than this kind of like I don't know how to explain it. It's just something I do not like is the open mouth, but it looked pretty good for what it is. And then I tried on the Three Jokers head, which, it has a weird shape to it and it has that texture, sort of like leather texture, which kind of works with the cape, but it just didn't really like it. It does work in its own way. And if you were to want to do this, of course, you'd probably be happy with it. But that was another head that I tried and it looks okay. Now, this was actually my favorite of the alt heads. And this is the Dark Knight Metals Batman, the battle damaged one. I just painted it a little bit to make the eyes a little bit more sinister. And man, this head actually looks really good. Kind of looks pretty much like the artwork on the back of the box. So for a while, I actually wanted to keep this head and just say, call it quits and say that's basically how this Batman is going to be in my collection. But for some reason, something told me that no, I didn't want to do that. I want to use this head with the long ears and everything. So finally, what I ended up doing is I actually used the teeth from the Dark Knight Returns Batman. Now, I did have an extra head, so there was no problem in, using it to remove the teeth. Now, one thing I did notice is that the lower teeth were big and the upper teeth were small, which is kind of reversed of a human. So what I did do was decide to use them upside down. And once I cut it to the shape of the mouth on this head, I went ahead and kind of fitted it just to make sure it would fit. And then I cut out the teeth that were inside this Batman head. And then I pretty much just softened it up and pushed it into the gap there. Now, what ended up happening is now I'm really happy with this Batman. I love the way his teeth are like in a grimace. And this actually makes this one of my favorite Batmans. I mean, I just fell in love with it. Now I've been posing them, been having a lot of fun with them, and the teeth fit just perfectly. They're kind of dark around the gums, and that actually works with this Batman. So I'm actually really happy with that, custom work that I did on this head. This is going to be proudly displayed on my shelf. I might even make a display just for him on his own. That's how much I actually love this figure. Now, as I said, I wasn't a big fan of the, you know, alternate hands that he came with. I do love the sort of man strangler hands that he has. These I will use if they fit perfectly with this character. But an easy fix for some fists was actually the fist from the Dark Knight Returns. The same head that I used for this are the fists, from that same figure. Now I actually have various hands from him because I bought him, I think, 5 times to do customs and swaps and different stuff like that. So I actually had a couple of extra pair of fists, and they actually fit perfectly onto this figure. You could warm them up a little bit just to make sure they kind of mold themselves to the peg, but they do work perfectly. The size is great, and they do have sort of a glove texture, which is way better than the ones that McFarlane gave us with that sort of ribbed, texture on the back. So I'm really happy with this Batman. He's awesome. Like I said, that just goes to show you that you never know if you're going to, really like a figure until you actually get it in your hands and do a little work on it, and maybe it'll end up being your favorite figure. Now, the Spawn didn't really take too much of a look at him because not the biggest Spawn collector, but I do like him. He looks cool with the sword. He's an awesome figure. I did want to take some time and actually do a little bit of head swaps. Now I do have the hamburger head that came with the Kickstarter, and it would be nice if we actually could put this head on here. I kind of just put it on there just to see what it looks like. But this is the head that was after Batman hit him in the face with the Batarang. So I was pretty interested to see how that would look. Maybe in the future we might get a McFarlane figure with this hamburger head, which would be awesome. But I also do have this custom Mortal Kombat Spawn that I actually used the head that came in the Kickstarter that was an Al Simmons, like without the mask, with his glowing necro eyes. And I tried that one on this one as well. It looks pretty good. I mean, it was just having a little bit of fun and showing you guys a little bit of different options. So, like I said, didn't really look at the Spawn too much, mainly focused on the Batman, but I was really happy with him. Now, the Spawn actually also did come with a couple of things. He came with a black stand, but with the Spawn emblem, which is pretty sweet. He came with his own data card, which looks, pretty interesting. I'm not sure if the Spawn figures have ever come with a card, but this is a cool Spawn card. On the back, you have information on, Spawn's background, Al Simmons. So we will hold on to that. And then, of course, he came with this pretty nice Spawn blade. Has, a little bit more paint details than usual, which is pretty nice. A little bit of wash, the green necro eyes, some red wrap around the handle. Pretty nice. Weapon looks really good on him. So all in all, what I have to say is wasn't as bad as I thought. I actually really enjoyed this pack. I would suggest, if you pick it up, if you want to do a head swap, or if you want to try and modify the head the way I did. But I really enjoy this Batman. He's awesome. Gonna have some more fun with him, posing him around and finding him a spot here in the office, in the collection. But you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.